Hello, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Are You Protected Against Cybersecurity Attacks? How Office 365 Safeguards Your Organization. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us today. Before we begin, there's just a couple housekeeping items that we'd like to mention. All attendees are in listen-only mode, so if you have any questions, please just submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We'll be answering those in our Q&A session at the end. We're also recording today's webinar, and you will receive a recording in our follow-up email tomorrow. So with that, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Bert Burry. Bert is our Cloud Solutions Architect here at Velosio. He has over 20 years experience in cloud hosting infrastructure with proprietary deployments and with Microsoft partners. And Bert also brings a deep perspective when advising our clients on digital transformation by migrating to Office 365, Microsoft Azure, as well as consulting on D365 and Office 365 licensing and compliance. So with that, Bert, I believe we're ready to transition over to you.
Great, thank you, Abby, and thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy day today to attend this important session as we dive into security within Office 365. So kind of as a prerequisite, I just wanted to take a moment or two and remind you a little bit about the deep relationship that we here at Velosio have with our clients. We'd like you to, make sure that you view us more than just a partner, but we're actually a business platform for your journey to your next. And when I say next, what we're really meaning here is your next project, your next big initiative, or your next big deployment that you have there for your business. It's important that you view Velosio as a partner in your business in terms of helping you go to the next level and further advance the agenda of your business so that you can focus on doing what you do best, and that is your business. And we can help you by focusing on what we do best, which is the deployment of software applications and services that help technology further enhance your business overall. This slide is important, and I chose to include it real quickly today in our presentation to just really call out why our clients can rely on Velosio. It is the depth and the breadth of the mid-market solutions that we bring to the table for our customers. And it's also very important to acknowledge our stature with Microsoft in that it is unmatched. We are one of the largest providers of ERP solutions and managed services across the board with Microsoft. And then also the size and the scale, as well as the reach that we have, means that we're there for you, our end customers. So we're here to help you throughout your journey of whatever it is that you're going to next in terms of support from a technological perspective and better opportunities to further grow and advance your business. So without any further ado, let's get down to the real meat and potatoes of why we're here today, and let's roll up our sleeves, take a few moments and talk about Office 365. So at a high level, for the purpose of the session that we have scheduled for you today, we're going to make the assumption that the audience is familiar with Office 365 and are comfortable navigating through the Office 365 applications and the Office 365 stack. So hopefully you'll recognize the majority of these icons as they appear on the slide here. We're really not going to spend a lot of our time talking about these applications, but just a quick overview to make sure we're all comfortable with that. Hopefully all of you have seen the Office 365 plan overview and are familiar, at least at the very rudimentary level, about the different Office 365 plans that are available from Microsoft that you can get directly through your partners here at Velosio as well. If that's not the case with you, we could certainly have a conversation offline about that. We'd be delighted to help you better understand Office 365 and leverage the power and functionality of Office 365, as well as the managed services that we have here at Velosio built around that practice for you as well. But again, for today's session, we're just going to assume that you're comfortable with that, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and talk a little bit about the security benefits of Office 365 and how you can leverage some of them in your organization to help you defeat and protect ransomware, malware, and other types of phishing attacks in your organization. So at a high level, this slide is really important because I think it's important to call out the fact that global attacks are increasing. And with those attacks, the costs of defeating those attacks or the costs as a result of the effect of those attacks continues to rise on an alarming level. So when you look at this slide, it's a bit dated here, but in 2018, the average cost of a data breach in the United States was $3.8 million. And the global number of reported breaches in 2018 was more than 6,515. So this is an awful lot. And then when you start thinking about that in terms of time, the time and space continuum, the cyber attacks occur approximately every 39 seconds. So think about that for a minute. Somebody is trying to attack your network, whether it's your email or your ERP or whatever it is that you're doing at work, anything that's electronic as far as your continuity of your business. There is an attack out there every 39 seconds. And the question is how well you protected against these types of threats, and what type of tools are you taking advantage of natively that are available to you to help you defeat these tools. And again, from Velosio's perspective, what type of a partner do you have that can help you leverage these tools that are readily available to block and defeat these attacks? And in the worst case scenario, what kind of a partner do you have that can help you do a restoration in the event of the unthinkable, where you lose data or there's some sort of a breach? Oftentimes when we start interacting with our customers and some of the smaller customers, they start thinking, well, you know what, we're just an awfully small business. Nobody's really going to be concerned with getting our data. And I think that is really a fallacy. And the reason why I think that is because when you really think about small to medium businesses, with the emphasis on the smaller medium and the larger small ones, if that makes sense, is that those small businesses are, in my opinion, a lot more vulnerable. And the reason for that is because your business is your bread and butter. And so you've made a lot of time investment, a lot of financial investment in making your business successful. And so any interruption to that business continuity is pretty impressive. It's very potent and is very hurtful to the way that you do business. And a lot of times it's very difficult to come back from a financial perspective. 58% of breaches took place at small businesses. That's pretty staggering. $120,000 is the average cost of an SMB or small to medium business data breach. And 62% of respondents said that they lack the skills in-house to deal with security issues. And so this is important, and both Velosio and Microsoft recognize this. And so that's why today's session about security in Office 365 is so critical to the conversation, because Office 365 has some tools native to its application that actually help you deal in-house with security issues. And then by leveraging the experts here at Velosio, we can help you deploy these solutions and help you manage them to protect your email and ultimately protect your business in the long run. So what does that really say? What am I getting at here? And the point I'm trying to make is that in colloquial terms, it's really time to up your game. It's really time to step up. There was a time not too long ago where having an internet firewall, PC protection, maybe a PC antivirus program, some email filtering perhaps, and backup on a removable media was enough to protect your business. But that is long since gone. There is a lot of change in the technology with this digital transformation, and perhaps some of you have attended some of our webinars previously about digital transformation and moving to the cloud. But when you do that digital transformation and you make that migration to the cloud, you're going to get the advantage and the protection of a lot of different feature sets within the security of the cloud that you would not otherwise have available to you by keeping local emails on-premise or on-premise deployments of additional workloads. So the message here is times have changed, and it's important that you take those steps seriously and continue to move forward and implement this change and embrace it by embracing the technology that is designed for your benefit to protect your businesses. So One of the primary things, just to be clear about Office 365, is the ability to have and to use Exchange Online. So days in the past, we would have Exchange on-premise servers that needed to be managed with an Exchange OS system, and then managing your emails on-premise. There is the ability to do a hybrid deployment today, where you can do a hybrid between Exchange and Office 365. But for the purposes of the conversation today, we're really not going to talk about those types of hybrid deployments. We certainly could talk about it offline or set up a conversation to talk about those types of deployments. Today, we're going to focus on Exchange Online as a key component of Office 365 in the assumption that any deployments would be with Exchange Online. By default, Exchange Online has anti-spam and antivirus present in it by native. So it has a multi-engine anti-malware that protects against 100% of known and existing viruses that are out there. It does have a world-class fingerprint technology that identifies and stops spam and phishing vectors in real time. That's the important thing to understand it. It's not something that you're looking in the rearview mirror with. This is real-time protection that is occurring every time an email is sent and throughout the entire time your Exchange server is running in Office 365 as part of that program. It does have the ability to block unwanted email based on language or geographic origin. So this is a tool that's built in natively to Office 365 Exchange Online that stops those pesky emails from other geographical locations in other countries. Like those emails that we hear from a Nigerian prince who has some money that he wants you to invest with him or to loan him some money on a temporary basis or things of that nature. You know the emails we're talking about. This tool here is designed to automatically block and control those types of emails. So you do have the ability to customize those settings. So you can block them out from a country such as Nigeria, or you could open it up and then block another country if you wish as well. So it's heavily customizable depending upon what your needs are. The other thing about Exchange Online protection by native is the fact that it's got this protection against malware and phishing. So we have ransomware as a threat, we have malware as a threat, and we have phishing attacks as a threat as well. And so this malware and phishing, there's an uptick in that going on throughout the world. We've seen a lot of ransomware attacks and some phishing attacks in recent weeks, and so it's important that we have some sort of protection deployed. The advanced threat protection component within Office 365 gives you a piece of information and some protection that's called ATP. Safe links, and safe links provides that time of click verification of web addresses and emails and documents, and allows you to create custom safe link policies for your organization. The safe attachment piece allows you to take appropriate action automatically by checking email attachments for malicious content. And then you, again, just like the safe links, you do have the ability to create safe attachment policies. So if you've got a small organization or a large enterprise, you still have the ability to customize certain policies based on those attachments as they arrive in the user's inbox. And then the anti-phishing protection protects against impersonation and phishing attacks. And we could talk offline for those of you who want to know a little bit more about the RFC 5322, which is the approved standard for the general format of email addresses. So just a quick comment about what that meant there. So how does the Exchange Online protection work? You know, I thought this graph from Microsoft was really poignant in the fact that it kind of gives you a visual representation of what really happens to your message or your email envelope as it comes in, how it gets filtered through the processes, how it gets filtered through the protection engines that Microsoft has developed to ensure the safety of the content of your email and the ultimate safety of your users once they activate that email, either in the view or the open up reading and clicking on any of those advanced links that are in there. So safe attachments detonate suspicious attachments in a secure sandbox environment, so it isolates that content so it can't be distributed throughout the network. Unsafe attachments are then removed, and then the safe link also rewrites suspicious links for testing at the time of the click. So this type of protection is only available through Microsoft in Office 365 and provides a much more secure and robust protection overall for your organization than typically you would be able to deploy on-premise through email, through an Exchange on-premise server. So a lot of value to be added here in just the online protection of Exchange Online in Office 365. And again, just a quick footnote, this type of protection is leveraged across the board regardless of any plan that you have in Office 365. So it can go from the low end of the plan all the way up to the Cadillac version of the plan, which is Microsoft Office 365 Plan E5, Enterprise E5. So just a comment about that. Another thing that we like to talk about and make sure we call out to our clients, and something that you should consider as you deploy and use Office 365, is Exchange Online document fingerprinting. This is part of the DLP, or data loss prevention technologies within Office 365. And so what it really does is allows them to scan email and attachments to look for patterns that match document templates. And then you can customize this to protect sensitive documents from being accidentally shared outside your organization. So for example, you can customize the settings so that any proprietary information, any documents or proposals, maybe schematics or images or diagrams, can only be sent to individuals within the email domain of your organization. So if you think about it, that really is a step that would prevent you from emailing to someone with maybe a Yahoo or a Hotmail or a Gmail address. It's going to keep it within your organization's domain unless you adjust the settings with that. So it protects you against the possibility of employees, either through carelessness or nefarious intent, for sending proprietary information outside your organization, perhaps to competitors or any other nefarious purposes. So there's a lot of tools that are in there for Office 365 for you. So that's especially true for the small to mid-sized businesses where you have a lot of proprietary information that is key to your secret sauce, if you will, of your business. So it's definitely worth your investment for sure. So when you think about data loss prevention, or DLP, there's two pieces about this that I wanted to call to your attention, and that's the preservation and the search. So for the left part of the slide here, in terms of preserve or preservation, you have the ability for in-place archive. So think of it in terms of a secondary mailbox with separate quotas managed through PowerShells or through other different things that's available online or through in EOA. Velosio can help you manage these in-place archives, as well as help you manage the governance, which is an automated and time-based criteria, which basically allows you to set policies or items in a particular folder level with expiration dates on email messages. So certain way this is helpful if you're doing loss mitigation or some sort of legal discovery or things of that nature. Then from the search perspective, you look and you think about e-discovery. So it's web-based e-discovery and a multi mailbox search and criteria that allows you to have deduplication after discovery and auditing trails to validate the controls that you have for that. And these are also, we kind of go down into it a little bit into the weeds, but these is legal holds where there's litigation between organizations, maybe patent or copyright infringement, things of those nature, those types of things that come to mind are where you would use some of this e-discovery as a key component of data loss protection. The other thing that I really want to talk about today is EMS. And EMS really stands for Enterprise Mobility Suite. And it's a key component of Office 365 in terms of security as well. And it's a recommended and a popular add-on to many of the Office 365 plans. So when you think about Enterprise Mobility Suite in terms of benefits to you as an Office 365 user, think about it in terms of identity and access management. Microsoft has Azure AD as a component of Office 365, as well as the basic identity management through the shared resources between Azure Active Directory and Office 365. Then also the mobile device and app management. So a lot of organizations today, from the small to medium-sized business, even up to the large enterprise businesses, have a BYOD, and that stands for Bring Your Own Device. And so they allow end users to bring their own cell phones, mobile devices, tablets, and even in some cases, laptops and tablets into the workplace environment and use those devices to access business and or corporate content. So there's tools within Office 365 that we'll talk about here in a moment that really allow you to, manage the devices that your workers and users are bringing into the environment. And this really goes to the last and third box here on the right, which is the RMS for Office in terms of the Office protection. So you do have a lot of different tools that are available to protect the content while still giving the employees the privacy that they need for their devices on the personal content that they bring into the network, and as they consume content documents and emails on these devices that are related to the work that they're hired to do in their role that they're out there as an employee for your organization. So when you think about mobile device management, you're really thinking of three components. You're thinking of the conditional access, right? That is the authentication and the credentials that they have to access that content and to consume that content. There's that device management, that's that management that we were talking about for those users. And then there's the ability to do a selective wipe. So this is going to be used if an employee leaves your organization, either voluntary or involuntary, that you can do a selective wipe of the corporate or business content off of those devices without impacting the personal content or the family photos or the personal emails or other things that any of those users have on those devices. And the tool that's used within Office 365 to leverage that is Microsoft Intune. So Microsoft Intune allows you to basically simplify the application delivery and the deployment. So when you think about that, you think about a self-portal experience that Office 365 admins can help leverage and monitor and maintain these policies across the board. And with using Intune, it's a consistent experience across all these different devices, whether they're connected on Windows or Android or an iOS device. Uh, all these different things are seamless. They might appear just a little bit different, but the neat thing about it is it's a consistent experience for these users across the board. This is something that we have here at Velosio, and many of us have devices such as Microsoft Teams, even SharePoint Online, right? On our mobile devices, our tablets, and our laptops, so that we are always in constant communication and always in constant contact, not only with each other as we work projects together and working with our customers, but also more importantly, as we interact directly with our customers and be able to answer questions for them and get them the information and support that they need in a timely manner. So it's a tool to help us become more mobile and be more efficient. Certainly tools that can be leveraged across your organization as well. So when you start thinking about Intune, the last slide kind of gave you a summary, but this kind of gives you a little bit better visual representation of what I was talking about. The personal data remains personal on these devices, and then the corporate content represented in the lower quadrant of the graphic here on the right is protected. And so you have the ability to selectively wipe not only the data contained, but also the apps. So you're not only wiping the data, but you're wiping the app. So if there's a corporate app that's installed on these devices, you have the ability to retract that when the organization, when the user leaves the organization across the board. And then with the licensing, just as a footnote here, with Office 365, it gives you the installation rights to install on up to 5 different devices with Office 365 for each valid license that you have. And so most of you should already know this, but just as a repeat, Microsoft has done this because they recognize the need for increased productivity for users within an organization. So in order to be compliant with a licensing perspective, they decided to increase the installation rights. And so you can have employees that have a valid license where it's installed on their desktop and their workstation at the office, and then they can still have access to the Word, Excel, and whatever other apps you have as a component to their license on their mobile device and tablet, or in some cases even install those applications on a computer at home so that it can do some work from home. So in the end game, you're getting greater level of productivity out of your users by providing access to these tools through Microsoft Office 365 across the board. And even though this session here doesn't really talk a lot detail about Microsoft OneDrive for Business, by deploying Office 365, you get OneDrive for Business and an awful lot of space depending on the plan that you have. And that's another protection for you as an organization by making that a mandatory storage location for your users, regardless of which device your users are accessing and consuming that content on. You can rest easy knowing that those documents are stored within Microsoft OneDrive. And if the tablet or device is rendered, unoperational or broken or worse, stolen or something, you don't lose that content. You still have that stored safe and secure through the power of the cloud in Office 365 through the tool of OneDrive for Business. The other thing I want to talk about in terms of Intune and managing the identities is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And so it's really a component of three different pieces where you have mobile apps, phone calls, and text messages. And so what happens is when you think of, multi-factor, two-factor authentication, it is an additional layer of protection across the board for accessing content, not just in Office 365, but other workloads and other applications as well. So instead of just authenticating with a username and password like we do typically, it also adds that other layer of additional multi-factor authentication. So it can be a mobile push with a one-time passcode or a token that is sent to your mobile device that you can use a product like Microsoft Authenticator, that you can approve or deny that access to that query, allowing you access to that application. It also could be a telephone call where you get an automated telephone call and you can approve it through a one-time passcode or a token. And then text messages. And text messages, as well as the push notification, are the most popular. Text messages that when you log in and you provide the login and correct password, then the system will immediately send you a text to your mobile device. And then what you do is you enter that 6-digit code that you receive on your mobile device directly back into the dialog box on the device that you are accessing the application. It validates it in a matter of microseconds, and you're automatically into the system. So it just provides another layer of authentication and security protection, not only for your email, but also for any of the applications that you have multi-factor authentication set up for, whether it's an Office 365 application or a cloud workload. So it's really good. We here at Velosio do use multi-factor authentication and two-factor across the board. And I actually on my phone have Microsoft Authenticator, so it's a little pop-up message that comes whenever I log into systems, including my emails. And then I just click on the approve, and then I'm automatically redirected into the site in literally a matter of microseconds. It takes a second or less. So it certainly isn't anything added in terms of time commitment, or I got to sit here and wait for a call or something like that. It's almost simultaneously. So it's a really good second step that we've implemented here at Velosio across the board, and it's working out great. We certainly recommend it. So for anyone that's on the call today that's an Office 365 administrator, or perhaps you're a member of the leadership team within your organization, wanted to kind of talk to you about Office 365 Secure Score. And Microsoft Secure Score is something within Office 365 that a lot of our users, a lot of our customers, and most people are not familiar with, at least initially. And Secure Score is a tool that Microsoft has built within Office 365 that helps organizations understand how they compare against other organizations in terms of seat count, protection, and industry. And really what it does is it kind of gives you an idea of, well, with the security roles and the security steps that I have in place today within my own tenant of Office 365, how does that security level stack up? In other words, how protected am I against my peers in similar businesses? Am I not as secure? Am I much more secure than they are? How do I stand? How do I do that? And more importantly, if I have a weak security posture, how do I strengthen that? How do I do that? And so Microsoft has, like I said, Secure Score as part of that. Secure Score is really an actionable roadmap to help you and your organization tighten security. Okay, so it's designed to identify holes. It's identified to identify weaknesses, okay? Show you what the weaknesses are, and then help you resolve them. You know, it's only doing half of its job if it makes you aware of it. It has to be able to provide you with some suggestions or resolution or action items to help you tighten up your security. So it analyzes your security based on your regular activities within your tenant and domain, based on how your users are actually accessing that content, how they're using the product, how they're using the apps in there, and then it assigns your organization with a score. So this is a screenshot of what that score looks like. It's Microsoft's way of, helping you identify how secure your tenant is. The number doesn't necessarily mean that you're impregnable, but the higher your score, it means that the more protected you and your users are and more protected your data is, okay? So you can track your point change over a period of time and kind of get an idea how your organization is doing, and then compare that against the global average, the industry average, and then also compare that against similar Microsoft tenants in terms of seat count. So it kind of gives you an idea of, where do I fit in the grand scheme of things, and what can I do to really improve my security posture overall. So this is a image really showing what that Secure Score actionable roadmap is. It helps you focus on the identity. These are also known as the pillars of protection: the identity, the data, the device, the applications, and the infrastructure. So all these things come together, all of these different pillars that come together, all 5 of them are part of the security suite that's available to you, not only within Office 365, but also within Microsoft Azure Active Directory or Azure AD, and the relationship as it begins to protect your data for workloads that you have in the cloud as well. So we can certainly help you here at Velosio leverage those types of securities across the board, not just for Office 365 like we're talking about today, but other applications and other workloads that you have in the cloud. So again, the theme for Secure Score is action and a actionable roadmap to tighten the security. This allows you to, kind of see some graphics that are reportable directly from your interaction within Secure Score to help you build out your secure footprint in Office 365 for your data and for your users, and also for the recipients of your email, ensuring that your email content as it's originally transmitted to them is safe and secure, and it's not malicious or has any malicious links or codes or attachments to that. We talked about the Secure Score identity, a little bit about that earlier graph, and it's really important to understand that Azure Active Directory identity and access management scenarios actually leverage the relationship between Office 365 and Microsoft Azure, and the ability to improve the security posturing within cloud services across the board. So there's a lot of identity policies and rules that we can talk about, and an awful lot of complex interactions between Microsoft Windows Server, Active Directory, and Microsoft Azure and Office 365 that we certainly can take offline for those of you who are interested. But at the end of the day, remember that your Office 365 security or the security of any email that you're using or your network in and of itself is really only as strong as the weakest link that's out there. And so by deploying Office 365 across the board and taking advantage of some of the security feature sets that we've talked about thus far in today's presentation are going to do much to help protect your data, your employees, your line of business across the board, your secret sauce, as it were, and your users and the customers that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I would be remiss in talking and not talking about the managed services for Office 365 that Velosio has, because we can certainly leverage everything that I've talked about today, not only from the licensing standpoint within Office 365, but also with the managed services and helping you and your team members get started in Office 365 and leveraging some of the security feature sets that we talked about in today's session. So it's important to understand why we recommend Office 365 managed services from Velosio, and that's because we do provide end-to-end support across the entire stack of Office 365 and applications. We have a very deep Office 365 expertise with those of us here on the team across the board, and then it's always up to date. You know, Microsoft consistently releases updates to Office 365. In fact, they released an update just a couple days ago across the board for Office 365 for Microsoft Excel and some of the other applications. And you can update your Office 365 when you log in for that. We can also help educate you as to what some of these changes are across the board. And then security. We here at Velosio have the knowledge to support and monitor your Office 365 environment, help you set up secure score, advanced threat protection, identity management, and all the different things that we talked about today, and some of the things we didn't have time to get into in today's session. And then, of course, continuity. So we certainly have the ability to help ensure the availability and continuity of your Office 365 environment, as well as any other applications that you move to the cloud. And that does include additional backup sets and solution offerings for backing up your native Office 365 content. So we can talk about that offline as well, but we do have a service around that. So you think about that in terms of managed services for O and M365. And we didn't really talk about M365, but Microsoft M365 is Microsoft Office 365, but also includes the Windows 10 operating system. So those of you that are on older unsupported versions of Windows 7 or even older, Windows XP, Professional, and some of the other versions like that really need to update your operating system, and Microsoft has provided a great tool to do that, to get additional layers of protection that I talked about today, such as advanced threat protection, as well as uploading upgrading your Office, Office and Windows operating system to Windows 10, which is much more secure than prior versions of the Windows operating system. So that's what's in Microsoft 365, and we do provide support across the board for M365 as well. And as you can see on the graph, there's an awful lot of security that we can leverage across the board for your organization. 24/7, 365 support, multiple program levels, depending upon the level of support that your organization needs. And then we also have secure score reporting. We'll provide a link to that at the end of today's session. And then a phishing attack simulation, the ability to test your organization in a safe manner to identify the weaknesses that might be out there. Maybe you've got this one user or two who has a tendency to open everything and click on everything. We can help create some metrics to help curb their appetite to do that and help you identify where the link spots are and in terms of your protection and your security footprint within Office 365. And then last but not least, the ability to help you build out multi-factor authentication and then manage their multi-factor authentication that you have across your organization as well. That's a great segue as I wrap up here to talk about managed services that are beyond Office 365 that we provide here at Velosio. That is desktop and server support, network support, and security deployment across the board. So when you think of Velosio, we don't want you to think just in terms of ERP or just in terms of being able to sell and support Office 365, but look to us as your full suite of service partner across all those different spectrums, including managed services for desktop support. So you have the ability to free up some of your IT staff to work on more strategic projects by offloading some of the responsibilities of desktop management to Velosio, and then the ability to leverage newer technologies, because as these new technologies continue to be made available from Microsoft, we'll have the ability to educate you quickly on how they work, help you create policies and customize them, and then help you deploy and roll them out across your organization. And then the enhanced security and continuity, because it's very important to continue to focus on business continuity as a key component of your overall business strategy. And so this last slide here just kind of gives you a quick graphic of the summary of the 6 managed services that we have for our clients for desktop, server, network security. And then the last piece there is the VCIO, and the VCIO really focuses on the C-level project management, more for the large mid-sized business and the enterprise organizations across the board. And so we certainly can help you in each and every step of the way. And this is very important because we've seen an awful lot of ransomware and malware attacks in the industry of late. And so there certainly seems to be an uptick on that. And so we're constantly helping our clients continue to fight and to be able to have resources to defeat these types of attacks. And then in the worst case scenario, teams to be able to help our clients restore their data and restore their emails after an attack and get them back up much quicker, and through a cloud deployment and through the deployment of Office 365 across the board. So in summary, what are your keys to your success for your business as it relates to Office 365? And I think this slide sums it up well. It's governance and security policy, identity systems and identity management, and the threat awareness. Hopefully we didn't scare anyone today, but hopefully we called out enough that there is an awful lot of threats that are out there and you need to be cognizant of them. And if you're not protected today, you need to start thinking about how you can protect your organization early on against these types of attacks and protect your business, your customers, and your data, which is a great segue into the data protection piece. You own your own data. You have the ability to classify sensitive data and take steps to protect it within your own tenant. And then administrative privilege management. Our team helps you from a user management perspective, not only in terms of user adoption so that your users can maximize their understanding of the application that you are providing to them, in terms of getting a higher value for your licensing dollar, but also for those global administrators that might need some additional help in configuring secure score or leveraging the tools with advanced threat protection. Our team stands ready to help you to do that, help you deploy all of these tools that we've talked about in today's session across the board. So as we wrap up, I wanted to take a moment before I turn it over to Abby and thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule today to attend this session. I hope that you found it to be beneficial and of value, and I certainly hope that if you have any questions whatsoever about the content that was talked about today, or if you'd like to engage us further, that you can reach out to me. My contact information is here on the screen, or you can certainly reach out to your client sales manager for additional information, and we'd be happy to set up a one-on-one discovery call with you to talk through your existing deployments today, what your concerns are, and what you would like to do, and what projects you have on your horizon that we could be a part of to help you make your business even more successful. So with that, thank you again for your time. I will open up to questions and turn the session back over to my colleague, Abby.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert. That was excellent. And we did actually have 2 questions come in so far. So first, can you also help with SharePoint Online? Is the question.
And the answer is yes. We have a dedicated SharePoint solution architect on our Office 365 team that can help you build out and revise an existing SharePoint intranet site. Or we can meet with you and do a discovery call to help identify what you're actually looking to do in Microsoft SharePoint and develop a intranet site for you, as well as leverage some of the tools that are available, including Microsoft Automate, which used to be known as Microsoft Flow, to help you organize automatic workflows in terms of document and process approvals within a SharePoint site.
Perfect. Next was, if we are interested in desktop support, who do we reach out to for those managed services?
Yeah, so that's another great question. And again, I would start out by reaching out to your client sales manager, or you have my contact information on the slide here that's on the screen today, and we'd be happy to chat with you. But at a very high level, we would talk through what your existing network architecture looks like today, what types of devices that you have, and what kind of locations you have, and what your technical specifications are for these devices. And that would help us build out a solution for you to provide you with the best protection and the most cost-effective solution for providing managed services across your network for your devices, regardless of location.
Excellent. Okay, so looks like those are still our only questions for now. Make sure no more popped up in the box. We're good. So we just want to thank everyone for joining us again. We will give you all 14 minutes back in your day. And as Bert has it up on the screen now, you can see his contact information here to reach out. And we do also offer the complimentary Secure Score assessment that Bert mentioned, and we actually have that URL here. And it's something that we will include in our follow-up email tomorrow if you're interested in learning more. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Bert.
Thank you.